What's up, good people? Let me know that you can hear me in the chat by typing denied. Denied in the chat if you can hear me while our intro plays. All right, what's going on, good people? I wanted to just come in. It's going to be a quicker video. We got some updates in regards to Tim Norman and his appeal for his conviction for his life sentence that we covered a few months ago. And thanks to our friend thanks to our friend Chronicle Speaks, we got an update on that. And then I got a little bit behind the scenes info that this info came out on Tuesday. And but first, thank you to everyone who's letting me know that you can hear me. And then also thank you to the 92% of you who've said that you've hit the like button and shared this video. If you haven't as of yet, please like the video and share it and subscribe. Because it is free to you, but invaluable to me and the growth of this channel. So I'm just stepping in for a little bit for this short video because I am working on other content for us, but I didn't want this info to get old on us. But we have Tim Norman, who we know, those of you who don't know, just a little background, is known for his role on Welcome to Sweetie Pies. And he was denied his appeal for the 2 life sentences by a 3-panel appeals judge. And as you may recall, Tim was convicted in September of 2022 for orchestrating the unaliving of his 20-year-old nephew, Andre Montgomery. And then Tim was found guilty for conspiracy to commit M for hire and conspiracy to commit mail fraud. And in the plot, Tim had orchestrated to unalive Andre for a $450,000 life insurance policy, which he ended up never receiving. And that was after applying for 5 different life insurance policies. Only one went through. And then because of the fact that they found out that he was not cleared for the unaliving of Andre, he never got that money back. All he got back was his premium that he had been paying into it for a couple years. And the court found that Tim had been planning this plot since 2014, about 2 years prior to Andre's unaliving in 2016. Tim was then convicted in September of 2022 for the M of Andre and was ordered to pay restitution, but they basically took his money. Well, they seized his property and seized the money for his the money that he had paid in premiums, which I think was somewhere around $4,000, if I remember correctly. Even with all of that, being there, going through the trial, I was there. For those of you who don't know, myself, Chronicle Speaks, JSO Extra was also there. We were there for the nearly 2-week trial. And even with all of the evidence and everything we saw, which clearly let us know that Tim Whitehip Normans was guilty. He was still pleading his innocence. Tim even went so far as to, after he was sentenced, he took to his Instagram to post, "Thank you for all the prayers. I am still in disbelief." You? We've been in disbelief. Says the feds know 100% I did not do those insurance policies. But the jury, so Wael Yagnam, I guess, did them for himself with your cousin's information. Why he didn't put it out on you? You were worth more. But anyway, he says, but the jury didn't get to hear that. And not one person got on the stand and said, I told them to hurt my nephew. No, because you were using coded words with people. And everything that Travell Anthony Hill confessed to in his interrogations and what he signed with his plea deal, he tried to go back on all of that during the trial. I was there. Don't lie to us. Don't be sitting there lying to my face. He says, they destroyed my name and image so you guys wouldn't search for the truth. They. That sounds like a narcissist. It's their fault. So I guess the FBI took out Andre too. Okay. But despite thousands of pieces against him, literally they said that they had about 40,000 pieces of evidence, 40,000 documents. And I believe it, because I believe we saw at least probably 30,000 of them during the trial. So fast forward, I put out this poll question. Poll question I just put out. Did you know that Tim Norman appealed his conviction? 56% of you did know, 44%. That's very close, way closer to half than I thought it would be. But I have seen comments here or there under other videos related to Sweetie Pies where I was starting to see, like, some people don't even know he appealed. Yes, Tim Norman had appealed. We did a video on that as well. We even listened to the actual appeal hearing with his attorney and the prosecutor, the government, debating the case. And here, what we're talking about today is the results. So if you're not aware, I'll add the cards to this and the links. I meant to actually pull them in. I'll add them to it. So if you come back to this video, you can see that if you're watching the replay. And then, so what Tim, let me close this out. So yeah, that's quite a bit. Now my question is, did you know, because we know our friend over at, I keep saying our friend over at Chronicle Speaks, but her name is also Chronicle Speaks. We know that she was the first one to report the update on what occurred with the appeal. Were you aware that Tim Norman appeal thankfully got rejected? So Tim and Miss Robbie, because we know who paying for this, allegedly, I got to say that, allegedly, Miss Robbie would be paying for this. Where's Tim getting the money from? He was broke. That's why he tried to have Andre taken out. That was proven in court. I ain't got to say allegedly. This is documented. The same attorney who helped Bill Cosby to get his charges overturned, they ended up hiring her. She's not cheap. So Tim couldn't afford her. So Tim was unsuccessful with the court affirming his convictions for the conspiracy to commit M for hire and the conspiracy to commit mail-in wire fraud. So the court rejected his arguments and exclusion of certain testimonies and evidence, ultimately upholding the original trial's decision and rulings. Because again, we got the other video on it, but I spoke a little bit about how Tim was trying to say that Judge Ross, who presided over the trial, was incompetent. Then he tried to say, well, Judge Ross should have recused himself because Judge Ross had someone in his family who was addicted to drugs. And because Travell Anthony Hill admitted that he was addicted to drugs, it's a conflict of interest for Judge Ross to have presided over a trial with one of the witnesses having a drug addiction, like one of Judge Ross's family members. It's like, what, girl? What? He was trying. Oh, they were trying. So the court documents show that Tim's appeal was based on several arguments. Number one, he was claiming that the district court wrongly admitted certain text messages from Andre and statements from his accomplices. So he's upset that the text messages from Andre to Miss Robbie, where he was saying, Uncle Tim is after me. I'm afraid that Uncle Tim, of what Uncle Tim is going to do to me, et cetera, et cetera. When she was trying to get him to come from, he was in Texas at the time. She was trying to get him to come back to St. Louis to take a lie detector test to prove that he wasn't the one who broke into her home. He ultimately ended up doing that, and that's ultimately what led to his demise. He came there to take the lie detector test, took it. The police cleared him. He stayed a little too long. Tim snuffed him out. Craziness. And then on top of that, there were family members who was testifying to the fact that Andre was saying that if anything ever happened to me, Uncle Tim did it. So you had all of that. You had the text messages between him and white boy Chris, the text messages between him and YL Yagnam, who was the insurance agent, who he claims he didn't know nothing about the life insurance policy, but we got the text message exchanges. And then to prove that he was broke, he actually, when Charles was reaching out to him, another set of text messages was Charles reaching out to him, asking for money for tickets or something. And Tim was saying, I don't have it. I got to get rid of my motorcycle. I got to do this. I'm about to get kicked out of my apartment, blah, 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 this and that. You making up that? Because all those things did happen. All those things did happen. And then one critical piece of, and one of the critical pieces of the evidence was the fact that that Andre, in his text communication with Miss Robbie, had said that he was in fear for his life because Tim was after him. And that was admitted. You got to question, too, why Miss Robbie didn't testify, because Miss Robbie was supposed to testify. I need y'all to put on use your third eye and your third ear, your discernment. Why didn't Miss Robbie testify? Because Miss Robbie was supposed to testify, and I know this because I was there, and she was on the list, and first couple days go by, we thought she was going to be one of the first people. They never called on her. So she all of a sudden just started showing up in court. She wasn't, all of a sudden she was no longer a witness. Why? Wouldn't your mama be a good witness for you? My mama be a good witness for me. Wouldn't y'all mamas be, if they, God willing, they still with us on this side of earth? Wouldn't your mama be a good witness for you too? If not, then the things that make you say, your own mama can't testify for you? Say anyway, oh Lord, y'all gonna get me blocked. He also argued that the court failed to compel crucial witnesses to testify. But the judges, the appellate judges, were not convinced of that. So his other argument is that both white boy Chris Carroll, aka Chris Carroll, and Chris Carroll, he was allegedly like the lynchman. He was the go-between between Travell and Tim, giving Travell information to say Tim wants you to take out Dre, and that was how that ball got rolling, basically. And Tim want to know how much you want to take out Dre, kind of thing. When Chris Carroll got subpoenaed and called to the stand, Chris Carroll didn't go any further than stating his name, the fact that he was married, one other little bit of information, and the rest of the information was, I plead the fifth. They was like, do you know Tim Norman? I plead the fifth. Do you see Tim Norman in this courtroom? I plead the fifth. It was crazy. Have you ever worked at Sweetie Pies, which he did? I plead the fifth. Do you know Miss Robbie? I plead the fifth. So he pled the fifth, and he had his attorney there. His attorney was standing next to him at the witness stand. So Tim is saying, that's y'all fault. That's y'all fault that I use people who flip on me. Then you had YL Yagnam, who Tim's attorneys, his team, failed at sending a subpoena for YL to show up to court. they assumed that the government was going to have him on their list. They didn't double check. They assumed. And you know what they say about assuming. So the trial started, they get 2 days in. I think we were about 2 days in when they realized that YL is not on the list of witnesses. And they never subpoenaed him either, which means he's not obligated to show up to court. He don't even know to show up to court. So then Tim's attorney is trying to pressure the judge to force YL to come to court. Now he's like, we trying to subpoena him now. The judge is like, we have started the trial. You should have done that before. Then Tim's attorney is like, yeah, but they were supposed to do it. We thought they was going to do it. He said, that's not their fault. They didn't want to do it. That was on you to make sure it got done if that's someone you wanted to testify. So long story short, they hunted for him for about a week. They were sending people to his door. He wasn't answering. And then his attorney, they sent information, the subpoena to his attorney. His attorney said, YL is not showing up because he was never subpoenaed. However, if you force him to show up based on you contacting me, he's going to plead the fifth. So he's going to do the same thing that Chris Carroll did. So long story short, Chris Carroll doesn't testify to anything meaningful, and YL don't show up at all. And so Tim, in his appeal, is saying that the court failed to make them testify. That's not how it works, sir. That's not how it works. And then part of with Chris Carroll, part of the argument they were making, and I noticed because we did the transcripts not too long ago, part of the argument that they were making was that, well, Chris Carroll was testifying, was in his interrogations, and he had like 2 or 3 of them with the detectives. He was talking then. He can't now plead the fifth if he was willing to talk back then. So just because he talked back then during his interrogations, y'all need to make him talk on this witness stand. And judge like, that's not how it worked. that's not how it worked. So Tim was, upset, boo-hooing. He appealed. They shut it down. And yeah, so that's where we're at. We're looking basically at Tim still spending the rest of his life, rightfully so, in jail. Like I've said before, I feel like Tim Norman was both a blessing and a curse to the Sweetie Pie's family in the sense of because of him, they got known on a national level. If it had not been for him creating the Welcome to Sweetie Pie show, they would have been a soul food restaurant with a couple locations in St. Louis. But who knows? Andre would probably still be here. The family's name would not have been, the legacy would not have been, senselessly tainted. And but Tim Norman is still in jail. He is in the Hazleton. I did a video on this a long time ago too. I'll try to link this. The Hazleton Penitentiary in West Virginia. We don't really have much more, on that. These are some old pictures. Probably had Tim looking now. Tim was looking really skinny during the trial, but I feel like during his sentencing, you already started to see him pick up weight. So I'm wondering, do y'all think he looked like Madea by now? Y'all think he picked up more weight? This is from his first stint in the penitentiary when he was a teenager. But yeah, that's about all I have on this. Thanks to Chronicle, I didn't know that YL was out. YL Yagnam, the insurance agent, he is now, I'll put it this way. He is now, that's the second one over here. YL is, he got 3 years, but then he ended up getting early release this past April. So he is now free. Terica is free. The only ones that are still in prison is, what's his name? Travell. And Travell got like 32 years. He took a plea deal, which meant he was not supposed to be able to appeal. He still is appealing. So I haven't been updated looking, but he is in the process of appealing his sentence. And then you got Tim Wide Hip Normans, Camel Hip, who is going to be rightfully where he needs to be. So this was great news. The Griggs family was made aware of it earlier. before it hit us. And the only thing is, Tim can find some other creative ways to try to. There's like one more thing that he can do, but he ain't getting out. We already know this. He ain't getting out. But this was great news. This was great news. And before I wrap up this video, for those of you who do not know, if you want to know more about this particular case and a little bit more of a deep dive on it, not only do I have a timeline plot video where I literally went from site to site, but TV One, the series For My Man, just did an episode on it where they did a deeper dive into the case. And I also appear in it. So make sure to check it out. I'll play a couple clips before we get out of here. But if you want, like, the nitty gritty, actual tour, like they didn't go to St. Louis. They just showing y'all B-roll. I went there. I showed y'all the places. So if you're interested in that, to see my raw commentary, you can watch my original video. And then if you want to see the produced, I say watch them both. They both good. So here's a little clip, just in case you haven't seen it, from my appearance on For My Man on TV One.
For love or money, of all the 7 deadly sins, lust and greed fit together like hand and glove.
She was in the streets as far as stripping and making money.
Providing each other's needs on a very basic level.
Valuing love and money equally can blur the line between which is which.
She feels like she was manipulated into this situation.
She would just collaborate with him for money. I don't think she was unaware.
And between what's right and what's wrong. March 14th, 2016. St. Louis, Missouri. It's just after dark on Natural Bridge Avenue in the city's North Side neighborhood.
Natural Bridge Avenue runs the length of North St. Louis.
This area of St. Louis is known to have a very high crime and murder rate.
Suddenly, gunshots shatter the quiet evening. St. Louis Metropolitan Police's 911 call center is swamped.
One caller doesn't just give the location where the shots were fired, he gives the name of the victim.
The 911 operator instantly recognizes the name, Andre Dre Montgomery Jr.
At 21, Dre Montgomery is a national reality TV star.
Dre is the grandson of Robbie Montgomery, star of Welcome to Sweetie Pies. Anyone who watched the show would instantly recognize Dre Montgomery's name.
911 dispatches officers and EMS to the scene. Will they arrive in time to save a youngest member of a show business dynasty?
Yes, so definitely check us out. I'm gonna do a couple quick comments. I couldn't see all the comments while I was giving my commentary, but I'll read the ones that I was able to see right here. Oh, and also for that episode, it is episode. What I just had it on screen. What is it? Season 7, episode 8 is called Ken Killer or Care. Y'all know I can't be saying all these words on YouTube. Ken Care. You can catch it on TV One on demand if you already have TV One and you stream it. Catch it on TV One on demand, or you can catch it on the Philo or Philo app. It's also there, streaming on Philo. I don't know where else, but those 2 places for sure. It is not a link that I can show y'all. And if you are on our Patreon, a YouTube channel member, or if you're in our Telegram group, I put out a link where I give my kind of behind the scenes commentary on it, everything about, my trip and the filming of it and some details, a bunch of stuff that you would never know if you don't hear it from me. You can also go to those platforms and watch that for free. The links are there. I'm not sharing them here because you need to join those platforms to be able to get those sort of behind the scene insight. But anyway, good job on that TV One series For My Man. Salute to my fellow Chi-Town brother. Thank you so much, Monique. I appreciate that. And I don't blame white boy Chris and the insurance man. I wouldn't get in stuff trying to save Tim's best food around, drag Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty much every person for themselves at that point. Everybody was in survival mode. I think you're saying, is Miss Robbie still using her life savings for attorneys? I keep telling y'all, I don't know, some of y'all don't see this. Miss Robbie is not broke. Miss Robbie is a rich woman. Miss Robbie's wealth was estimated, last I looked, between $5 and $10 million. And I wouldn't be surprised for many reasons that I won't be talking about publicly. Miss Robbie is not, this putting a little dent. She might spend $1 million on her son, maybe. Yeah, I would say probably about $1 million overall she's probably spending on him, but she probably still got it. And Miss Robbie, as y'all know, she cheap too. Y'all know that from y'all watch the show. Don't be acting like y'all didn't watch the show. This woman she's not broke. This ain't her life savings. I mean, it could be going towards stuff, don't get me wrong, but I say it's $1 million out of her 10 million. So now she only got 9 million. Poor Miss Robbie. Does he have an updated mugshot? Not to my knowledge. I honestly haven't dug like that. And if it wasn't for Chronicle doing the video, this was a kind of off my radar. I kind of had forgot about it. Or at least I wasn't paying no attention. So yeah, I'm not sure. And I'm thinking if Chronicle hasn't showed it, that it probably is no updated mugshot out there. Because they would have needed to do one. Maybe we probably have to do a FOIA to get that. Maybe. That insurance man and Chris is going to get not tied up in the BS, right? I mean, they already were, but yeah, they weren't gonna. And white boy Chris, aka Chris Carroll, already part of what his issue was he already had some federal criminal stuff going on with the PPP loans, and so they were already after him for that as well. So he didn't want to get on the witness stand and incriminate himself to his other case. And that was one of the things that his attorney was saying, that I don't want my client getting up here trying to testify for this case, and then the government uses his testimony in this case against him in his own case. So that was a little bit of it as well. Even on the show, he mistreated Dre. Yeah, we definitely clearly saw that. Him and Dre and Charles. When did she sue him? Before or after Andre was unalive? That would open up a lot. So yes and no. She did sue him after Dre passed away, but that don't mean that his stuff started after Dre passed away. So that they correlate in the sense of she sued him after Dre passed away. However, he had started stealing from her before Dre passed away. And actually, I think she shut stuff down. That's when he started really going broke. But Dre was still alive. It was upon the tail end of Dre's life. He got desperate. That's why we ended up at the tail end of Dre's life. All that stuff was happening simultaneously. And then Dre passed away while it was still happening. I think it was pretty much the onset of it. We weren't aware of it at the time, but it was already going on. And basically, when he started opening those restaurants, he was opening them without Miss Robbie's permission, and she was having problems with it, and he wasn't listening to her when she was saying stop. So, yeah. And using her money to pay bills, et cetera, et cetera. So, but that's my little update for this. As usual, justice for Dre. Glad that we got more good news with this. And I'm going to now go back into retirement and go work on the other projects I'm working on for us. And with that, thank you to my moderators on the front end. And thank you to everyone who's viewing. If you're watching this and watching the replay, please hit that like button and subscribe if you have not. Share this video as well. Sharing is caring, and it is free to you, but invaluable to me and the growth of this channel. And as April Evans is saying, I didn't do it. All right, y'all. Good night, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace. Oh, I was going to play y'all out.
Dre came back last time from being in St. Louis. He wasn't living with Robbie at the time. He came back, and he said, Mom, he said, if anything ever happened to me, just know that Tim did it. What are you talking about? He said, well, just know Tim don't never do his own dirty work. that I got that fatal call from her about Dre. And I didn't want to answer the phone. You know, I just didn't want to answer the phone. And then she hung up and she called right back. And then that's when she was like, well, you know, the detectives was here. And already my heart is already slowing down, you know, and to the point where they want her to go down to the morgue to identify that was him. That was it. You know, it was like, it was so surreal. Everything was just rolling around. I'm just like, not my son. You know, not my son. Not my son.
So the plan with this is like what we're doing now. I just want it to be a conversation, and you know, I like for us to start at the beginning.